3-0. Arsenal 3. Athletic Club 0. And yet, if you were sitting in the stands or parked on your couch, heart beating faster than you'd like to admit for a preseason friendly, you know it felt bigger than just a clean scoreline. It felt like a statement. Not the loud, swaggering kind you spray across headlines, but the kind that sits in the bones. Whispering, yeah, we're ready. From the very first whistle, the thing had this almost theatrical hum to it. Maybe it was the sun on the Emirates, maybe it was the sheer novelty of seeing Viktor Gyokeres in red and white, but you could feel every set of eyes waiting to see if he was worth the hype, worth the little mental shrine that fans had been building for him in their heads since the moment he signed. And you know what? By the end of it, he didn't just tick the box. He lit it on fire, stuck a bow on it, and handed it to the crowd like, here you go. You wanted your striker. You've got your striker. 3 goals, 3 different scorers, 3 little slices of satisfaction. But it wasn't one of those perfect, polished, champagne-popping strolls. No, it was messier, more human. It was the kind of game that flirted with frustration the first half, teased disaster once or twice, and then, as if the script had been waiting for the perfect cue, ripped into life with that Gyokeres header. You could feel it when it hit the net. The release. Not just his, but the crowd's. That buzz when a player's first goal feels like a down payment on a future you're starting to believe in. And then, barely had the chance died down when Bukayo Saka decided to slap a little varnish on the whole thing. One of those calm, this is my house finishes into an empty net, like he was paying the electricity bill just by showing up. Athletic Club didn't even have time to exhale after the first punch, and Arsenal landed the second. That's when you knew. This wasn't going to be one of those single-goal, shaky last 10 minutes affairs. This was going to be a gentle dismantling. Of course, the beauty of friendlies is the freedom. You get substitutions, weird combinations, little cameos from players who might not see another packed stadium until next season's cup ties. But you also get the chance to watch chemistry happen in real time. Gyokeres wasn't just scoring, he was holding play up, shoving defenders off him like they were late to a cue, linking with Saka and Odegaard in ways that made you think, okay, this could work. You could see the patterns forming, Odegaard drifting into pockets, Rice timing his surges, Zubimendi just existing like he's been there forever, and somehow also stealing the ball like he's offended the opponent even had it. And yeah, Athletic Club had their moments. They weren't some cardboard cutout opponent standing there to make Arsenal look good. They pressed, they broke, they probed. Raya had to make a save or two that made you remember he's there for more than just short passing drills. But there was always this sense that Arsenal were in control of the temperature. If Athletic Club tried to heat it up, Arsenal just dropped in a bit of ice. If it cooled off too much, they threw in a spark, a burst from Martinelli, a cheeky run from Madueke, a midfield crunch from Rice that made the stands growl their approval. By the time Kai Havertz sprinted half the pitch to bury the third, holding off defenders like he'd been carved out of stubbornness itself, it wasn't just a scoreline anymore. It was a kind of early season promise. You know that feeling when you've cleaned the whole house, the sun's streaming in, and you've got that smug little belief that you could host a dinner party right now and everyone would be impressed? That was Arsenal at full time. Not the finished article, but polished enough to make you think about what's possible. And maybe that's why it stuck with me. Because it wasn't about just beating Athletic Club in August. It was about glimpses of Gyokeres finally arriving, of Saka being inevitable, of Havertz looking like a man with more tools in the box than people give him credit for. It was about Arteta pacing the sideline like he was painting brushstrokes onto the pitch instead of managing human beings. It was about the crowd believing in August what they want to still believe in May. We'll talk about the moments, the close calls, the chances that fizzed and the tackles that bit. But in the glow of that 3-0, it's hard to shake the feeling that this was more than just a friendly win. It was the first page of something they want to write all the way to the last chapter. From the first whistle, the match had that twitchy energy that makes you lean forward before anything actually happens. You could sense both teams wanted to make the opening minutes theirs, but Arsenal were sharper. their passes snapping around like someone had wound them up before kickoff. Odegaard, of course, was the metronome, eyes scanning, hips twisting, threading those passes like he was pulling invisible strings. And then, Gyokeres. 2 minutes in, he's already throwing his weight around. Ball at his feet, back to goal, Berchiche breathing down his neck, and he just turns him like he's brushing a coat off a hanger. The defender drags him down. The referee decides to make a point. Yellow card. 2nd minute. In a friendly. You could almost hear Gyokeres grinning as he got up. That's how you announce yourself without actually scoring. The crowd wanted more, though. Every time the ball found him, there was this swell, this collective inhalation. 9 minutes in, he bursts into the penalty area, shoulders swinging, trying to carve out the angle for a shot. But Athletic Club's defenders swarmed him, 3 bodies closing him down, and the space just evaporated. You could feel the letdown, like the air leaving a balloon. Still, Arsenal kept probing, Odegaard threading to Saka, who, within 7 minutes, was already cutting inside, lashing a shot toward the near post. Unai Simon, as steady as they come, got down sharp and smothered it, a reminder that nothing was going to be handed over. And then came the first gulp moment for Arsenal. 16 minutes. Calafiori, who'd been tidy up to that point, decides to gift-wrap possession inside his own box for Galarreta. One of those passes where you just hear the crowd's collective, "Oh no." Galarreta fires. But Raya's already seen it, already moving, already turning what could have been an embarrassing opener into a routine save. Still, that's a jolt to the heart rate. From there, the tempo got scrappy, a few passes missing their mark, little fouls disrupting the flow. Then, 21 minutes in, the first real "it's happening" moment for Gyokeres. Zubamendi, cool as you like, releases Saka down the flank. Saka glides to the byline and cuts it back perfectly to the penalty spot. Gyokeres holds his run, shapes his body, and scuffs it, just doesn't get the contact. Simon gathers it like he's picking up the post. The crowd groans, but you know in your gut, the next one's going in. Athletic Club weren't passengers, though. 10 minutes later, Arsenal almost hand them another opening. This time, Odegaard's pass forward is picked off, and before you know it, they're driving down Arsenal's throat. It comes to nothing, but every time the visitors surged, there was this little flicker of vulnerability. And then the sequence that broke it open. 31st minute. Calafiori starts it with a cheeky flick into Martinelli's path. The Brazilian, all speed and angles, drives forward and slides it to Gyokeres. One defender, gone with a shoulder drop. Another, left standing. Then, instead of forcing a shot, he rolls it back to Calafiori, who, and this is the only sour note, skies it into the North London sunshine. You could almost hear Gyokeres thinking, I did all that for this. But 2 minutes later, Arsenal get their reward. Zubamendi again at the heart of it, nicking the ball in midfield, carrying it forward. His cross? Pure class. Gyokeres rises, meets it with a header that's more hammer than forehead, and sends it ripping past Simon. The Emirates erupts. First goal for the club. First proper roar of the season. Gyokeres wheels away, the celebration a half-beat delayed, like he had to let the moment land before letting himself enjoy it. Before Athletic Club can even regroup, they're 2 down. Martinelli gets in behind, Simon comes flying out into nowhere, and suddenly the Brazilian's squaring to Saka. Empty net. Side foot. Done. 2 goals in 2 minutes and the air shifts completely. From then to halftime, it's Arsenal in control. Zubamendi crunching into tackles, Odegaard pulling strings, Martinelli darting. Athletic Club chasing shadows. The whistle goes at 2-0, and you can feel it. The crowd's not just watching, they're believing. Second half begins, and Arsenal waste no time shaking things up. Madueke's on, White's on, Martinelli and Calafiori make way. It's that preseason cocktail. Fresh legs, new angles, a manager tinkering like a chef throwing herbs into an already good soup. Within minutes, Odegaard slides one in behind for Gyokeres. He's on it instantly, eating up ground, but his cross fizzes through the box without a red shirt in sight. A little warning shot. We're not coasting here. Then it's Madueke's turn to strut. 52nd minute, driving to the byline, defenders backpedaling like they're on ice. He whips one in near post, but Athletic Club clear for a corner. That corner? Floated deep to Gabriel, who nods it back across goal. Timber's there, rising, and somehow sends it looping over the bar. It's preseason, sure, but that's the kind of chance that makes you wince. Arsenal smell more. Madueke again, threading something that almost finds Saka, just a touch too high. White follows up with a third cross in the same attack. Overcooked. The pattern's there, the execution's just not as clean. And then, minute 58, Gyokeres shows why he's more than a finisher. Ball played into him, defender tight, he holds him off, falling as he clips a pass through for Saka. Saka, seeing the lane, tries to square for White, but the flag goes up. It's all very fluid, very much the this could click into something scary sort of play. The 61st minute, though, that's when it almost becomes 3. Madueke, sharp as a knife, whips one in from the left. Gyokeres launches into a diving header, connection clean, but Simon gets a fingertip to it, pushing it onto the post. The crowd gasps, half rising in anticipation, then collapsing back down with that frustrated laughter people do when they know it's close. Athletic Club try to breathe. They get a spell, a bit of ball, but Arsenal's press just swallows them. By the 66th, Gyokeres is running the channels, dragging defenders out of shape. He's not just standing around waiting for service. He's stretching them, testing every seam. Then the first applause break of the half. Minute 71, Gyokeres comes off, job done. Havertz replaces him and the crowd rises to say, "We see you." This is the kind of ovation that's half thanks for today and half this is the start of something. The next few minutes are this weird combination of chaos and control. Rice, of all people, goes on a lung-bursting run towards his own goal. It's a defensive sprint, chasing down what could have been a dangerous counter. He wins it back, turns to face forward again, and the crowd loves it as much as any goal. 76th minute, Havertz gets his first sniff. Zubimendi, because of course it's him again, backheels it into Havertz's path in the box. Havertz swings through, Simon makes himself big, and it's saved. The ball's there for the taking, but the keeper's having one of those nights where even in a loss, he's making sure his name's remembered. And then, the hammer blow, 82nd minute. A hooked ball forward and Havertz takes off. He's moving quicker than you expect from him, powering across the halfway line, eating up space. Defender on his shoulder, last-ditch lunge coming, he shrugs it off like it's nothing, strides into the box, and hits it low across Simon into the far corner. Clinical, cold-blooded, and very much the cherry on top. By now, the Arsenal fans are in full enjoyment mode. Every touch from Saka is a little event. Every crunching challenge from Lewis Skelly draws cheers. Athletic Club look like they're playing uphill. Even the little moments, Saka trying to break free late on, DeLuise chasing him down with one last burst, feel like they matter to the rhythm of the evening. The clock drips away. The final whistle goes at 3-0. Players shake hands, swap shirts, and you can feel the crowd leaving with that warm preseason glow. No points on the board, but the Belief Bank just got a hefty deposit. Bukayo Saka, player of the match, and honestly, the easiest call of the night. You could sense it from the first time he touched the ball. That balance of inevitability and unpredictability that makes defenders hate their job. The goal was simple, almost casual, but that's the trick with Saka. He makes it look like anyone could do it, and yet no one else does it quite like him. That little burst to get free, the perfect weight on the finish into the empty net, if the game had been tighter, it would have felt like a dagger. In this one, it was more like him signing his name across the evening in permanent ink. Then there's Viktor Gyokeres. You come into your first match at the Emirates with a mountain of expectation on your back, and you score, not some scrappy rebound, but a thumping, timing-perfect header. That's the kind of introduction you don't forget. But his night wasn't just about the goal. It was the strength in the hold-up play, the runs that pulled Athletic Club's backline apart, the willingness to throw himself into aerial duels and 50-50s like it's a cup final in mid-season. And even the missed chances, the scuffed shot, the header off the post, they felt like promises, not failings. Promises that next time, they're going in. Zubimendi, though, this was one of those quiet masterclasses that doesn't make highlight reels, but makes managers fall in love. He breaks up play, sure, but he does it without looking like he's breaking a sweat. His cross for Gyokeres' goal was pure quality, but the moments I kept replaying were the ones where he just appeared in the perfect spot to cut out a pass or take the sting out of a counterattack. He's got this air of inevitability about him, like the game bends a little to where he's standing. Declan Rice had a different sort of evening. Less about spraying passes, more about making those lung-searing runs that drag the crowd to their feet. That recovery run toward his own goal to snuff out a break, that's leadership without saying a word. It's also the kind of play that makes his teammates trust him implicitly. And trust is a currency you can't buy, not even in the Premier League. Odegaard was Odegaard. Always showing, always shaping the attack, turning and threading passes like he was born with a compass in his boots. He didn't get his goal, but he was the skeleton key for most of Arsenal's better passages. His understanding with Saka is telepathic at this point. They don't just link up, they anticipate the future together. Kai Havertz came on and made his minutes count. That goal wasn't just about the finish, it was about the aggression, the decision to take the run on himself instead of waiting for support. It was as if he decided, in that moment, that he wanted to be remembered alongside Gyokeres and Saka in this game's story. And he will be. Madueke's cameo was all about intent. Direct running, forcing defenders into decisions they didn't want to make, adding a bit of chaos to a match that was already leaning Arsenal's way. Timber and Gabriel both had moments of solid defending, though Timber will probably want that headed chance back. The kind of miss you think about for a few hours before dinner takes it away. Even the youngsters got their slice. Lewis Skelly snapping into challenges, Nwaneri and Marino getting those precious first-team minutes, little cameos that may seem small now, but are part of the long-term rhythm. For Athletic Club, Alex Berenguer was probably their spark. A few lively moments, a willingness to drive at Arsenal's backline, and a couple of shots that could have turned things if they'd been hit cleaner. Simon, in goal, saved them from a heavier scoreline. The stop on Gyokeres' header onto the post, the saves from Havertz and Saka, those are the kinds of interventions that keep your pride intact in a 3-0 loss. And Arteta? He prowled the touchline like a man sculpting something invisible. Not just shouting instructions, but reacting to moments, adjusting pieces, layering ideas. You can see he's still cooking this team, still figuring out how to blend the new flavors with the old recipes. But on nights like this, you get a taste of what he's aiming for. So you leave with that rare mix, satisfaction from the performance, excitement for what's coming, and the tiniest pinch of impatience. Because if this was just a friendly, what happens when it's for points, for trophies, for everything? This has been Across the Pitch. Over and out.